That guy's got a serious weight problem. Go home, start exercising.
So that was President Donald Trump apparently fat shaming somebody in the crowd, allegedly a protester. Well, it turns out might have actually not been a protester. So now this was during a campaign rally in New Hampshire. So again, it was reported originally that this guy was a protester. Now there were protests during this speech, but interestingly enough, a lot of the protesters were actually very thin, whereas this guy, who was a Trump supporter, turned out to be not quite as thin. And interestingly enough, Trump immediately went to that guy and said, "Oh, he must be a protester. Therefore, I'm going to say all these terrible things." Now, the man Trump had mocked, actually, according to the AP, had been wearing a Trump 2020 shirt and shook his fist in support of the president. Now, that man is named Frank Dawson, and after this whole thing happened, he was interviewed by Fox News, and he said he was actually not upset at being mocked by Mr. Trump. He said, "I think he thought I was part of it, but I wasn't. Everything's good. I love the guy. He's the best thing that ever happened to this country." So now that I give you that context, I want to show you the rest of that video, the rest of that encounter, and you can see what our president says.
That guy's got a serious weight problem. Go home, start exercising. Get him out of here, please. Got a bigger problem than I do. Got a bigger problem than all of us. Now he goes home and his mom says, "What the hell have you just done?"
Okay. Now, not long after that, by the way, he said, "Our movement is based on love. Feel the love." So, again, what's funny about this is the hypocrisy, right? So now Donald Trump, he says, "Go home and exercise." But wait, Trump hates exercise. In fact, he's not only hates exercise, but he's also not the thinnest person in the world. And this is coming from someone who was also not the thinnest person in the world. And his diet consists of mostly fast food and Diet Coke. And if you can remember, the reason that he doesn't exercise is during the election, the Washington Post, this was back in 2016, they did a biography of the president, which noted that Trump had given up athletics after college because, quote, he believed the human body was like a battery with a finite amount of energy, which exercise only depletes. So now Trump tells this guy, go home and exercise. Go home. You've got even more of a problem than I do. Oh, really? So could you just say that the president just told this guy to kill himself? Because again, if exercise depletes your life battery, then in Trump's world, telling someone to exercise is tantamount to saying, "Go kill yourself." At least go kill yourself faster. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that's a stretch. All right. But look, it's obviously comical to have someone who isn't in the best shape attacking their own supporter for not being in the best shape. It's kind of that whole idea that maybe you shouldn't throw stones if you live in a glass house. But it is problematic because, again, we have a president who fat shames people all the time. It is obviously unacceptable no matter who you are. Those are real human beings here, and fat shaming people, totally not cool. But it's on brand for someone like President Trump because he is not only a bully, but he's a child. And he's that rich frat boy that picks on others because at the end of the day, he's deeply insecure about himself. That's why he's got this need to mock and to shame others, especially for their weight. Now, again, he's called women, a lot of women, fat. Alicia Machado, former Miss Universe, by the way, he called her Miss Piggy. So that's just one example, and it's not the first time, it won't be the last time, because as I said before, he's a deeply insecure man-child with no self-awareness. And that's who these people support. And by the way, Mr. Trump's aides had tracked down Mr. Dawson's contact information, right? Again, this is Frank Dawson, was a man who was mocked, a big Trump supporter. And so Trump, get this. So he knows he did wrong. So he calls up Mr. Dawson and left a voicemail. During that voicemail, he did not say the words, "I'm sorry," or "I apologize." So again, he fat shames someone. He doesn't say "I'm sorry" because he's incapable of saying "I'm sorry." But he said he didn't mean to refer to Mr. Dawson and thanked him for his support. And so basically, if it had not been that person, if it had not been a supporter of his, he 100% backs his own statements, his own fat shaming. Man, like, hey, if it wouldn't have been the guy that I supported, totally would have fat shamed him, even though I myself am pretty overweight. That's who these people support. Again, you look at this guy, they look at this guy, I should say, and they think, nope, he's a guy. He's my guy. I love what he does. I love what he says. I love that he makes fun of people. I love that he makes fun of disabled people, like he did to that New York Times reporter. I love that he makes fun of women, calls them pigs and dogs. I love that he makes fun of fat people. That's my guy, which is kind of ironic coming from a generation that would always tell us, when we were kids, hey, if you don't have anything nice to say, then maybe you should not say anything at all. The hypocrisy, man. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.